Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmiti Mukti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Java Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti Shanti Om Namaste. Welcome to our Drsya Satsang. We begin today verse 14. The verse 13 we have covered in the last couple of classes. The verse 13 we say that indeed Maya has two powers of the nature of projecting and veiling, concealing, referring to Vikshepa and Avarana. The projection power creates the world, beginning from the subtle body. The subtle body refers to the eternal jiva, so to speak. The eternal jiva is there as the beginning of the manifestation, let's say. So the subtle body, it's not that it creates the subtle body and then the subtle body comes together, manufactured in the interaction between those two principles. The eternal jiva and the eternal jagata, they start coming into existence, into manifestation, and then one feeds into the other, and then the sense organs and the jiva atma is a principle is brought into manifestation. And then it says that the projection power creates the world, and beginning from the subtle body, ending to the total universe. Is there a music? Is any one of you playing music? Sylvia, is this music come from you? Can you hear the music? No? Okay. So I'm gonna go.
I can hear it. A little bit I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with some music background here. It's not bad. So I just read the verse 13. The verse 14 is a continuation, more or less. It says the creation is the manifestation of names and forms in the reality, which is existence, consciousness, and bliss, ananda, existence, consciousness, just like form, etc., in the ocean. So you excuse me just for a moment. I want to see if someone who's doing work for me here is doing this music. Okay. And then on the 14th, it carries on this concept of the creation as a manifestation. Creation is the manifestation of names and forms. So it is interesting. It is fascinating concept, the concept of the superimposition of name and form, name and forms, name given to shapes and forms, okay, as if creating another order of reality just by itself, okay? So we have the substantial nature as gold, and then the superimposition of names and forms. Thank you, Sylvia. The superimposition of names and forms creates, as we know, another order, right? And here it says the creation is just names and forms, as we have seen over and over again in our studies. No? So there is this reality which is Brahman, or conscious existence. And then we have this manifestation of what? Configurations, beginning from the three gunas and then the subtle elements, and then things get shaped out on all different levels, of densities, and then we have these infinite numbers of configurations of names and forms. Okay, all of that occurs within Brahman consciousness, existence of the limitless nature, as we know, one without a second, and it presents that analogy. It's just like waves, like foam we find in the ocean. So in the ocean we find, we find waves, and then we find foam, and other things whose nature is just water, but appearing as different names and forms. In the ocean, we find a variety of expressions or manifestations of the same water, like foam and waves, on that which is consciousness and consciousness alone. Why my video is not coming? Oh my God, I'm really confused today. Okay, now I am here. So, did you hear me before? Okay.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Okay, let's see what Swami Paramahansa makes out of this verse. So the author gives more details on the exposition of the manifestation presented in the previous verse. It's just Namarupa, and there is no question of production of even an ounce of matter. So there is no manifestation, there is no creation, let's say. There is an apparent manifestation of names given to shapes, okay, which is not adding anything to Brahman. It's not adding anything to the substantial nature of the universe, okay? And then again, we have this concept that there is not even 1 ounce of matter created, not even by the Lord Ishvara, because Ishvara only does project names and forms on that which is the substantial nature of this apparent order of reality, and that substantial nature is Satchitananda in its fundamental essence. We can say that the substantial nature of this universe is Sattvaguna, or it is space manifest, okay, as the fundamental of the 5 elements, but everything goes down, resolves into consciousness, existence of limitless nature. That is the substantial nature, the fundamental essence of everything, okay? So there is nothing that is produced, not even 1 small ounce of matter, only names and forms on Brahman. Not even Ishvara can create matter. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. This is a universal law that not even God can violate. Very nice. God cannot violate this fundamental law. Science has become aware of this. And then how did God create? God did not really create. Nothing is created. Nothing is destroyed. It is just a configuration and destruction and reconfiguration of new Namarupas, okay? And the Namarupas, they all exist in the seed potential form contained in the mind of Ishvara, the mind of Maya, or it's a stretch to say the mind of Brahman, but we know that Brahman does not have any potential to creation without Mr. Maya, the great illusionist. And then the author says that it's like bubbles and waves and force in the oceanic water. These are not substance, but only names, forms that are given attribute to some name. The wind caused the manifestation of these forms in the ocean. The wind is what's going to produce, in most cases, the waves and the forms. If the creation is only Namarupa, Namarupa requires a substance on which to be present, in which to be superimposed to present. That substance, as we know, is Brahman. The creation of Namarupa is resting on that fundamental substance called Satchitananda or Brahman. Very nicely put, huh? The creation is just resting on that which is the only reality, the real substance, the real essence, which is called Brahman. What is the nature of Brahman? Brahman is independently existing, and the Namarupa is dependently existing. So what is the nature of Brahman? The nature of Brahman is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, and Ananda. And it's the only free and independent factor in the universe. Everything depends on Brahman, depends on conscious existence, but conscious existence being Satya and not Mithya, not part of Mithya, it remains free and independent of all phenomena occurring in Mithya. Although everything happens within its own scope, everything happens within consciousness, but consciousness existence remains free, independent, and untouched by all names and forms, which somehow appears within consciousness, conscious existence, consciousness existence within Brahman. So this is a very important concept to understand our moksha nature, our independent nature. It means to say that anything happening in Mithya does not really affect me. Why? Because I'm free from the world. Oh, but how can you be free from the world if you exist in the world? Huh? So I'm free from the world because I have recognized and realized and claimed my true nature / identity as Brahman, as consciousness. And although the world depends on me for its apparent manifestation, I remain free and independent of the world. I let Maya do whatsoever it wants to do with its vikshepas and varanas and create any kind of projection, but I remain free from the world. So this is the meaning of our moksha nature. The world does not affect us. Everything depends on me, and I'm free and independent from everything. And then we have another analogy of the wood and the furniture is made out of wood. This is another good one. So they are names and forms, namarupas, given to what is fundamentally woods and woods alone. So does the desk depend on woods? Yes, of course. Does the wooden desk depends on the wood? Yes, of course. But does the wood depends on the desk? No, of course not. It does not depend on the desk. No, this is the freedom of understanding our nature in Brahman as Brahman. Okay, the world depends on me. I am, therefore the world is, but I am free and independent of the world. All experience cannot change me, and I do not rely or count or depend on any sort of experience because I am Satya, and I don't need any experience. Okay, and experience happening to my inferior nature as Jiva Atma do not affect my superior nature as Brahman. This is important. It happens to the mind, to the body-mind complex, but I remain unchanged by any and all experience which occur, which happens to our mind inferior nature as a Jiva. Namarupas depends on Brahman for their existence, but Brahman does not depend. So Namarupa is Mithya and Brahman is Satya. Brahman is Satya, is that which is, and it is without any dependence on any other factor. Otherwise, it would not be Sat, reality. Reality is that which is always ever present and never depending on any other factor to borrow its existence. You understand? So existence of names and forms are all over the place. Everything is Sat, is an aspect of Brahman present in every one of these configurations produced by Maya. But consciousness is that which exists not depending on any other principal factor. And everything that exists in the manifest world depends on what? Depends on Satchitananda, depends on consciousness to begin with, which is the essence, the true substantial substance of the world. No? Sat means existence, Chit means consciousness, and Ananda means limitless. Ananda means Ananta, meaning limitless. Okay, so now we have that distinction that it's known most probably by all of us here. Ananta is the real meaning of this Ananda. Now, it's the original word is said to be Ananta, but it is translated in another word which is similar, but it is the experiential aspect of Ananta. Ananta is limitlessness, and limitlessness translates itself in duality as a jiva, human experience of not feeling limited. Okay, so the jiva, as we know, it has a problem of this sense of limitation, which is inherent to the identification with the body-mind complex, which is limited. Okay, so the human beings, they feel limited. Okay, and therefore we all do what we do as an attempt to remove this sense of limitation. Okay, so to know our true nature as Ananta, as one without a second, is to understand that there are no limits for my conscious existence, because I'm the substratum of the entire universe and all universe. Okay, so I'm always there, I'm always here. Yeah? So this is the Ananta, limitless nature, which it translates itself in the human intellect as a sense of all is okay, I'm whole, full, and complete because I have understood my true nature as Ananta. Now I enjoy what's called Ananda, which is translated to English as a sense of bliss, which is better described as a sense of peace and satisfaction. You understand? Bliss is it can be seen as a disturbing experience. So my take is the Shanti is the best translation to the Ananda reflect in the human intellect. Once this intellect is holding clearly its true nature as Ananta, limitlessness. In other words, consciousness, in other words, existence that concedes existence to everything. No? And says, bliss is an emotion, a human emotion that comes only after the mind are created by, but Brahman is prior to the mind. Yeah. Limitless conscious existence is Brahman. The limitless implies the following. The limitless implies, the Ananta nature implies pure existence. Consciousness is not part, it's not dependent. If it's part, it depends on the whole. If it is a byproduct, it depends, on some other factor that, brings as a product me, consciousness, like the brain. The brain is what produces. The consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, of the matter. So no, this pure nature, which is limitless, which is Ananda, it implies, this understanding implies the understanding that Ananda is not part, product, or property of anything that happens in the universe. It exists as an independent factor, and independent of matter and energy. This Ananda pervades and enlivens matter. It continues to survive even after the disintegration of matter. And this pure existence, consciousness, Ananda, without matter does not exist. But it does exist, but it's not available for verification. Okay, so it's like the example of electricity. Electricity is running through the wires in a house. So we have an electrical system, and the electricity is there. But unless we turn a device, we turn a light, we turn something, and then we can verify its presence. Likewise, Ananta, consciousness, existence is always there. It's never not present, but it's not verifiable unless it appears as the manifest universe, such as inert object and sentient object. When we see an inert being or inert configuration, okay, we can verify what? We can verify the existence of Brahman, okay, because nothing exists, borrowing existence, from one phenomenon to another. No, everyone is borrowing existence directly from Brahman. It's the only source of Satchitananda, of existence. So we see this inert object, and we know that Sat is there, existence is there. And then we see the other conscious beings, sentient beings, or jivas, and then we can verify not only their existence, the existence of Brahman is there in Claudio, but also the chit, the conscious aspect of Brahman is there easily verifiable in Claudio. Why? Because I see that he's a conscious being. And then this consciousness is only verifiable when it is available for transaction, another way to put it. Okay, when the Jiva Atma is there and is available for transaction, and sometimes, the Jiva Atma may be even not available for transaction. He may be seriously ill and cannot transact in the world much. But the simple fact that it's there, even lying in bed, okay, with the pranas sustaining the physical body, and some sat movement, is enough reason to, and it's enough to verify the presence of Sat Chit Ananda in that physical body or that body-mind complex. So these are not new for us. Pure consciousness cannot even say I am pure consciousness. This is also good because I want to realize that I am consciousness and I want to forget that I am a jiva. And I say, good luck with that. You can go do yoga until you transcend mithya, and then you join or connect with pure limitless consciousness. But there is no possibility of any knowledge, because if you are pure limitless consciousness, not associated with Maya, not under the spell of Maya, there is no question of knowledge and ignorance. Consciousness, and our true nature, is not a knowing, experiencing entity. Consciousness cannot even say, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, I am limitless and free, because that statement is a transaction statement, okay? It's a statement that's only possible through the intellect of the Jiva Atma experiencing itself and experience its environment. Transaction comes only when Nama Rupa is present. When you have one Nama Rupa and then you have infinite numbers of other Nama Rupas around, and then we have duality, and then we have one object interacting with other objects. So this is transaction. So as to explain better that word, that consciousness is only available for transaction when it's shining in the intellect of any jiva. Now even insects are going to be there, shining, yeah, with this Satchitananda. Okay. What would pure existence consciousness be like? We all know that already. Whatever Vedanta teaches, we have experienced. There is nothing mystical about Vedanta. How nice to be that, to hear that, huh? So whatever, because people have this huge vasana for experience, okay? So we know that we need to be present in duality as a jiva, interact with our environment, so that there is any relevance, the knowledge, I am pure consciousness, or the ignorance, I am the body mind, and that's it, okay? But people still have this saying that, now I want to be consciousness, but I want to be holding my status as a knowing, experiencing entity, okay? So I am pure limitless consciousness, but I want to experience from that angle, from that perspective, okay? As consciousness, I want to experience. So that consciousness is not available for transaction, but its reflection producing what we call the Jiva Atma is available for transaction. Only the Nama Rupa is going to transact, okay? And what would the pure existence consciousness be like? This is a lot of people want to know, how does it feel? So how is it like to be consciousness, okay? And it reminds me, Ramji say, it does not feel like anything, okay? So a consciousness does not feel like anything, okay? So it's not an object that has a feel to it, or a text, or okay? There's nothing to it. But the knowledge in regards to that, once it is properly understood, and then it allows the jiva to feel itself and the world in a certain way, which is much more pleasant and peaceful, okay? Whatever, so what would be pure existence consciousness be like? We all know that already. Whatever Vedanta teaches, we have experienced. There is nothing mystical about Vedanta. Only people import mysticism into Vedanta. Non-transacting, pure existence consciousness is experienced in the deep sleep state. In deep sleep state, all the Nama Rupa is dissolved, and we exist as Satchitananda, existence, consciousness of limitless nature. So it says when there are no possibility of real duality, okay, the projection of the world and the jiva experience the variety of namarupas, is still there is a conscious existence. Brahman is present, and that is called non-transacting Brahman, non-transacting pure existence consciousness. Okay, so as if in the deep sleep state or nirvikalpa samadhi, we have Brahman present, we have consciousness present, but it's not really experiencing any nama rupa. And then there is an experience, as we know, there is an experience of existence and conscious existence, let's say, or subconscious existence that allows the Jiva Atma to appreciate that experience of deep sleep greatly. That I haven't met anybody who does not appreciate greatly that experience of deep sleep. Deep sleep is experience. Brahman is there as a non-transacting Satchitananda. All the Namarupas are dissolved, and there is this, and we exist as Satchitananda. In that state, we exist without claiming our existence. Okay, so we exist, but we don't really exist consciously in duality, as we know. I exist, and Lynn exists, and everybody around here exists. So in that state, we are not consciously claiming our existence. And we are consciousness without knowing that we are consciousness. Nicely put. We are pure, limitless consciousness. We enjoy the most that experience, and we are not claiming our existence, much less as a conscious being in a certain state, okay? And then we appreciate it, we like to be there more often, but we have to transact in the world to process our karmas and so on. So what happens is that I'm not being able to claim my Satchitananda nature in deep sleep because I'm not consciously experiencing myself, okay? We need to consciously experience my true nature as the self so that I can claim and benefit from that knowledge, although the experiences that are available to all of us every day, for most of us, but we don't benefit much. Now we just develop a vasana for deep sleep. That is the pure Satchitananda that everybody wants. Satchit Atma, the self, everybody wants to see how does it feel like, and then Swami P says like exactly like in deep sleep. So it very nicely represents. So in deep sleep, you experience consciousness to the best of what is available in media as an entity. But again, only a transacting entity experiencing the state of deep sleep, which is by itself is an object of experience, can be said to have, a feel for what is consciousness. But it feels good, it feels peaceful, and so on. But it does not really feel blissful. We need to be in the awakened state, experiencing ourselves in the world so that we can experience a certain feeling of peace and satisfaction, which is more stable when it's based on jnana, the knowledge in regards of my true nature, which is the nature of everyone and everything. Upon Satchitananda, all the names and forms are projected, and that's called the awakening and dream states. So in these two states, we have all the Namarupas being projected, okay? And then in deep sleep, the Namarupas are not really being projected. The dissolution of the universe in deep sleep is a sort of deep sleep. Now, when we talk in terms of pralaya, the dissolution of the universe is a sort of deep sleep state of Ishvara. Ishvara, my Ishvara, say, no, I'm tired of this game. It makes no sense. Let's take a break. Let's go to sleep. And then all Namarupas dissolved into its potential seed condition or form, okay? Unmanifest goes into the unmanifest. The dissolution of the universe is the deep sleep of Ishvara in Maya, and the creation of the universe is the awakened state of Maya Ishvara. Very nicely put as well. You're going to say something, Lynn?
No.
Okay. Thus we have all come to Ishvara's dream. Nicely. No? So Ishvara, when it dreams the universe, and then we are there playing our roles in the universe, okay? And for as long as my Ishvara holds this game, this dream, no? Once they put an end to the dream, and then we all dissolve in the pralayan, which is a sort of longer deep sleep. But every night, Ishvara gives us the break and possibility of experience our private pralayan, in which we experience the self, but unfortunately, we don't experience our limitless nature consciously, and much less as inference in retrospective. We only have a sense that it was so nice, but very rarely, without the help of the scriptures, someone can infer that feels good, because that is my Ananda nature, my limitless nature. So this is knowledge. Knowledge usually requires a pramana, a means of knowledge, and the means of knowledge is called the Upanishads or Vedanta. So that's all. We all have come to Ishvara's dream. Who is that Ishvara? We are that Ishvara, but we do not know it due to Maya's veiling power. And that is discussed in the next verse. Okay, so who is this Ishvara? We all came to this Ishvara dream, and then now we have to understand the concept of Ishvara 1, Ishvara 2. Okay, Ishvara 1 is Brahman, and this dream, it comes out of Brahman, that's through the power of Maya, and we play as actors in this dream. And then Swami Paramarthananda said, and who is this Ishvara? Who is this Brahman? And then he says, you are that Brahman. This statement, you are that Ishvara, is only valid if we understand you are that Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman. You are Satchitananda, okay? So you are Saguna Ishvara does not stand as knowledge, as good knowledge, because unless you understand that you are of the same nature of Saguna Ishvara, because everything is of the nature of Nirguna Ishvara, or Brahman, or Satchitananda, okay? So we are that Brahman, yeah? But we very rarely we know it for sure due to Maya's veiling power. And this is going to be discussed in the next verse. Ooh, the next verse is promising. Let's go into it. Verse 15. The other power, veiling, the other power, the veiling power, veils the distinction between the seer and the seen within, and the reality and the creation outside. This is the cause of samsara. Let's see if I understood it properly. The other power, which is the concealing for veil power, is going to veil the distinction between the seer, the absolute subject, and the seen within, and the reality and the creation outside. It's called samsara. So I'm not very clear about this seen within. So the other power, which is the veiling power of Maya, veils. It creates this confusion between the absolute seer and the seen. The seen with seen, of course, would be what? Would be the mind or the intellect, which is the first, the seer 2, let's say, okay? And then on a denser level, we have the seer 1, which is the sense organs, okay? So this power, this veiling, this Avarana power is going to make us to confuse. We are not going to be able to see the distinction between consciousness and the mind, consciousness and the intellect, you understand? Consciousness and the sense organs, or even the mind and the sense organs get confused as well. But fundamentally, this veil power is going to hide the true nature of the Jiva Atma by making it confusing, you know, in a way that it cannot discern and discriminate, you know, consciousness, the absolute seer from the agent, the transacting entity, which is the body-mind complex, or the intellect. Okay, we lost Mark. Let me see if Mark is trying to come back here. No. Once we have this problem of not being able to distinguish between consciousness and the mind and mind's experience, when everything is mixed up and confused, we are in the situation we call samsara. Samsara is when we are totally blind to our true nature, and then we become the mind, and the mind feeds on desires, and desires are going to project value in the world, okay? And then we're gonna chase objects, and then we're gonna gain objects, and then we're going to develop attachment, dependence on objects for our peace and satisfaction, and then that is going to be a total failure. And then we've seen that set of events, one after the other, we're going to experience this psychological condition called samsara, which is great suffering. Let's see what Swami P says here. Due to Vikshepa Shakti, the universe and the Jiva, the creation and the agent, the creature and the creation, due to this Vikshepa Shakti, manifests. The universe is a mixture of Brahman and Namarupa. This is a very nice understanding, because we never discount Brahman once we understand this. The world we live is a mixture of Brahman and the world and Namarupas, you know, and matter and energy. So, but Brahman is there always as the substratum on which these Namarupas are formed. The universe is a mixture of Brahman and Namarupa. The world is Satyam plus Mithya. Another good statement to understand. The world is nothing but Satya being superimposed by Namarupas, Mithya. The world is nothing but Satyam plus Mithya, okay? And I also am Satyam plus Mithya. The body and mind are Mithya, and Sakshi is Satyam. Consciousness existence is Satya. However, the Jiva does not have the Satya, Amrita, Viveka due to Avarana Shakti. Okay, so we are born as this mixture of Satya and Mithya, of consciousness and matter and energy. Okay, we are the mixture of the spirit and matter, but due to this Satya, Amrita, Viveka, due to this Avarana Shakti, we don't have this satya, anartha, viveka, this discrimination faculty, which is so subtle, that allows us to discriminate the absolute seer consciousness from the mind and the world. Okay, so, and that is due to this avarana shakti that impacts the human intellect, not Ishvara, and of course not Brahman. Brahman is beyond any Vikshepa and avarana. The other power of Maya, the avarana, sort of covers the distinction between the Satya part and the Mithya part operating in the Jiva Atma. It kinds of conceals the discrimination. I mean, we can't see the line. I mean, there is no line between, that's the problem. It's so subtle. We cannot really see where consciousness ends and where the mind begins. Why? Because consciousness is all pervasive. It pervades the mind and everything in the universe. So how can we find a clear-cut distinction between consciousness and the relative seer, the mind, the experiencing entity? So avarana is very subtle, and it's going to cover this distinction between consciousness and the mind. Okay, my satya nature of my mithya nature. This covering is the cause of samsara, as we know. Not understanding and discerning and discriminating mithya from satya, which is the most fundamental teaching of Vedanta, the satya mithya discrimination. Not being able to discern and discriminate satya from mithya is the cause of samsara. The jiva invariably is going to take mithya to be real, and it's going to lean and depend on mithya for satisfaction, peace, security, and so on. It's unavoidable. Okay, I have not understand, where true security, true peace, true satisfaction lies, and then I see the world, and I don't observe that consciousness is pervading and conceding conscious existence to the mind and the world. And then I extrovert through my sense organs, and I establish a relationship with the world in which I lean and depend on the world. And this is samsara, dependence on mithya for my peace and satisfaction. Okay. So not knowing, not understanding my satya nature from my mithya nature, I, the jiva, will take mithya to be a source of satisfaction, peace, and fulfillment. I will take the objects to be real, and I will go for it, and I'm going to depend on the object for my peace, ananda, security, and the experience of sorrow are going to follow when unwanted objects of experience come and wanted objects of experience go. So nicely put. We have this relationship with the world. We believe the world to be real. We believe these objects to be a true source of ananda. And then this mix up, this lack of discrimination is going to lead me to the experience of sorrow. Every time things that I do not want comes, and every time things that I want go. Okay, so all because I have confused, okay, my nature as such a limitless consciousness from the mind and the objects experienced by the mind. Anything else?
It's a really pitiful state of affairs, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why it's said to be a tough game to get over, to transcend these avarana, vikshepa powers, that somehow binds us to samsara, to mithya. It's a rare phenomenon, so say the scriptures. because it requires a very subtle intellect to discriminate Satya from Mithya, so that we no longer remain invested in Mithya, because it's a disaster to remain invested in Mithya. Even if we have a very nice punya, punya dominated life, you understand? Still, a time comes when we have to deal with the going of our most intimate and dear object, which is our physical body. Okay, so the mortality of the physical body in itself is going to be a problem, even if one lives as a king. Okay, the kings, they would love to live forever, and maybe they become kings under the assumption that they may be able to defeat time and death. Okay, let's see. Swami Paramarthananda continues on this verse. I don't want to repeat the recap of Avarana Shakti. Okay. What does the Avarana Shakti does? It covers the discrimination between the mind and the consciousness. This occurs internally on the individual level. It's like it's all about our subjective experience as a human being. This avarana is a very subtle energy, manifests as well as physical matter and other energies, but fundamentally it's there in the subtle body, which is very subtle, covering or concealing, in our individual subjective level, internal level, this distinction between consciousness and the mind, consciousness and the subtle body. Consciousness is pervading the subtle body. Subtle body has its functions and its desires and its fears and so on, its doubts, and consciousness is there permeating and pervading everything. And it's not easy to have that distinction, that discrimination between the two. But Sakshi, consciousness, is always there as the substratum. I, consciousness, am Satyam, and the mind is Mithya. But I'm not able to know this difference, and therefore I mistake myself to be the mind. The difference are, I am the observer, and the mind is the observed. So Drsya, I am the seer, and the mind is seen. It's so simple, Vedanta, isn't it? So I cannot be the subject and at the same time the object. The camera does never appears in the picture. The eyes can never see themselves, okay? So likewise, I remain always present in every experience. But I tend to believe that I want to see, taste, and feel this consciousness so that I can believe that there is something such as a free and independent consciousness, which is not the mind, which is thoughts and emotions. Thoughts and emotions are seen by me, consciousness. Consciousness is not going to be seen by any other principle factor because it's the end of the line. It is the absolute seer, okay? So I am this seer, and anything that's seen is now me, it's Mithya, okay? So it's so simple. I am never seen, I'm the seer. I am the seer of the mind. I am the observed of the mind, but never observed. I am the consciousness principle, and the mind is inert. I borrow, or I concede consciousness to the body-mind complex. And is the body-mind complex my true nature? No, because I see it. I experience it, okay? So I am the source of conscious existence, and I concede life to this body-mind complex, and this body-mind complex fundamentally is inert 5 elements, inner matter energies, okay? And I vivify everything because I am Satchitananda, I am conscious existence, okay? Another principle, I am free from modifications. I am nirvikaraha. I'm free from modification. I don't change. And the mind and the body change from moment to moment. It's a flux of continuous change. Okay? So I am that which is changeless. And everything that I see is changing always. Huh? I am free from modifications. The mind is subject to a constant modification. I am Satyan, that which is ease at all times. The mind is Mithya, is just a Maya's superimposition, Maya's projection. And this mind comes and goes. It even disappears in one of the states I experience every day, such as the deep sleep state. Yeah? Thus, there are so many differences between consciousness and the mind, but I do not note these distinctions because of this avarana shakti of Maya. So now, how can we figure it all out without the help of the scriptures? No? It's almost impossible because it's counterintuitive, as James likes to put it. I mean, you don't see those subtle distinctions between you and your instrument of knowledge / experience. This is due to Avarana Shakti of Maya. The very same Avarana Shakti causes also confusion at the external level. So Swami Paramarthamanda was looking at it as an internal level, as it says the verse puts it very nice. And it makes a confusion between consciousness, the seer, absolute, and the seer, and the seen within. The seen within, it's the mind, the intellect. So there is confusion internally, subjectively, okay? And now he's going to bring the confusion happening externally as well. It brings also confusions at the external level. Externally, the Avarana Shakti covers the distinction between Brahman, the cause, and the world, the effect. Okay? So Brahman, Sat, its existence, and the existence of the world. Okay, now I have the world, and there is no such a thing as an effect without a cause. So it said that Brahman is the substratum of the world. The world externally is a superimposition in this conscious existence of Brahman, and I cannot see because I only see matter. Okay, and if I conceive the idea of spirit, I see spirit is one thing and matter is another thing. Okay, and I can never see how the spirit is the substratum. So externally as well, there is much confusion. The difference between the cause and the fact, cause is the only substance, and the fact is no substantial namarupa, and they keep changing again and again. They disappear, they appear again, okay? And then there is the cause of the universe, and there is the world of all these objects changing, appearing, disappearing, and we can't figure it out. There is a principle in which this changing world is being experienced and known. Yeah? Cause exists in all 3 periods of time. The cause exists through the 3 periods of time, and the effect is impermanent. It's subject to arrival and departure. So the cause exists through the 3 periods of times, meaning to say the past, present, and future. Okay, the cause is there, the notion of time. Okay, past, present, and future. This is a superimposition of Maya. This is an effect of Maya, and this is all impermanent, okay? And the cause is always present there, because present, past, and time happens within consciousness. So the world of time and space are subject to arrival and departure. Cause is Satya. The effect, the namarupas we see physically manifest in the world is mithya, is an apparent reality. This cause and effect difference is also not noticed by the individual. Thus, Brahman world distinction is not known. So what is this distinction between consciousness and the mind? It's a tough one. And how about that? What is the difference between consciousness and the world? You understand? So how can I see consciousness in the world? How can I see Brahman in the world? Okay, so it's usually easier by understanding Ishvara, the creator, and seeing the creator of the world manifest as pure knowledge, as the substratum of this manifestation, and then we can trace it back, Ishvara 2, into resolving it into Ishvara 1. So this distinction, this difference, is also not noticed between the world. Brahman world distinction is not known. So what is Brahman and what is the world? They appear to be two different things. Although it is not, but the understanding of Brahman and the understanding of mithya, the world being superimposed, but fundamentally all is but Brahman, is not understood. There is a total confusion due to this avarana shakti, not knowing the difference at the internal level and the external level is going to cause samsara. We expect eternity from the non-eternal. The effect, which is the world, is non-eternal, and it cannot give peace, satisfaction, and security. Brahman alone can give security, but not knowing that we make a blunder in depending on the world for security. But not knowing that the Brahman is the only source of peace, satisfaction, and security, that we make a blunder in depending. A blunder, I don't know this word, but we end up depending on the world for security. Do you know this word?
It's like a mistake.
A mistake. We make a mistake in depending on the world for peace, satisfaction, and security. We expect support from people, place, objects, and situations. And we are this very source of support, conscious existence. All the suffering is because we expect security from the insecure world. And this is samsara. The author will explain this in the next verse. Ooh, okay, so today we do a double class. So nobody can sleep. We go on for 1 more hour. Beautiful, huh? All the suffering is because of expecting security from the insecure world. There is nothing more valuable in the human mind than security. It's the most fundamental human pursuit. I want security. I want to be secure, because things here seems to be very, very fragile and insecure. And then we go for people, place, things, circumstance, events, and so on, expecting to find true security. But how can you find security from insecurity? No, if I have 1 million insecure objects, that is going to make up security. No, not even 1 trillion insecure objects are going to make security. Now, oh no, if I have all the world in the world, all the money in the world, the power. No, everything is insecure in the world because it's not eternal, it's changing. Moment to moment, it's present now, but it's bound by time, it disappears in time. So none of this is going to give us security. And that is the problem of samsara. And this is samsara. And we're going to look more into this next Thursday in our next Drsya Viveka. Thank you very much for staying with me. And we meet again next Monday with Panchadas. And I'm looking forward to come to this verse 16 because I'm really enjoying this Drsya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Brahman. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon. Ishwara willing. Namaste. Love you. Arrivederci.
Thank you. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.